Today I want to just do a quick video on one of the many ways I store an ample supply of, in this case specifically it's tromboncinos, but let's just say it's a zucchini, shall we? G'day folks, Andy here from McDowell Manor. Okay, so what we're going to do today is make fritters. We'll make the fritters and then I can freeze them really easily. And it's a quick and easy meal if I'm running late and I need something fast. Okay, first we're going to grate these up. Divided that zucchini roughly into two, pretty roughly, but that's how I cook anyway. I'm about to grate a couple of carrots, so there's one carrot for each of those bowls. Now I happen to be using a food processor, but even then I still go onto the standard old box grater when I get towards the end of whatever I'm grating. So, you know, you can do it by hand, you don't need to be fancy. I'm just doing it with this way for speed. There's your point in question. So the last little bit of carrot, I ain't sticking my fingers in a damn electric grater. So I'll pull that out and I'll just do it on the box grater. At this point, because I know if I don't say it now I'll forget. Most people would fry up a bit of bacon and add that into the mix. There's a couple of nice big spring onions or shallots that I'm dutifully weighing up for Shed Wars. So half of those shallots, so probably two reasonable sized ones, will go in each. Let's chop that up now. Get ready. I'm going to do this by hand because that's the easiest way. I'm chopping up. I was reminded of a funny story. See that jelly? That's perfectly natural. Now the only reason most people have never seen that in a shallot is they've never eaten a fresh shallot. All the ones in the shop, you see, aren't fresh, so they don't have that jelly anymore. Go, the shallots are in. Now we're going to beat a couple of eggs. And we'll add half of that in each as well. Now I'm going to use a combination of our own chicken eggs. Yes, I know they're in a commercial box. They've got to be stored in something. And our quail eggs. What I'm probably looking for is about 1.5 eggs, believe it or not, for each. So quail eggs are always good for that half, because I use 2 quail eggs for a half an egg. For the YouTube police jump on and give me a hail of abuse about Andy, we can't make it because we don't have quail eggs. And how do you get an egg and a half? Well, what you do, you ready for this, YouTube police? You beat 3 and you put half of them in each one. Gold! Can't tell, but the egg mixture's in there. Now, I'm going to spice. You can spice however you like. And my suggestion is use things that you really like. So you might go a Thai style, say, or a Chinese style, or an Indian style. I'm going to go with a Middle Easternish style. So I'm going to add coriander, cumin, smoked paprika for that smoky aftertaste, and a bit of homemade chili powder. There's the chilies to prove it. Living the dream. Alright, so I'm going to add the flour first, and then I'll add the spice. Put my hand down there so you can see. These are big bowls, folks. Now the reason I'm explaining that is I'm going to use a cup. 1 cup in each bowl of self-raising flour. You can use normal flour, but throw in a pinch of baking powder as well if you do that. So I'm going to do that now and give it a preliminary mix, and then I'm going to add the spices. Now I don't measure the spices as is my want. Cumin will be a fair bit because it's one of my favourites. Coriander will be a fair bit. Paprika will be in about the middle, and very light on the chili because I like to be able to give it to the kids and they don't eat it if it's too hot, obviously. Alright, so let's add that flour. And I've given one a preliminary mix. Now that's not far off what I'm looking for, but there's not enough flour. I don't want to make a pancake. I want to still be able to identify all the separate bits, but I need enough flour and egg mixture that it's going to hold it together. Now if it's too dry, that's not too dry, but if it's too dry, all your flour will just sit dry on top like that. In that case, beat another egg and add it. Digging in for a new packet of self-raising flour, digging around in the pantry, I thought, oh, look at those corn kernels. I'm going to add half a can of corn kernels to each bowl as well. That'll be nice, add a flavour punch. And the reason I'm explaining this way is add whatever you want. You can add mushrooms, you can add all sorts of things to these. Knock yourselves out, have fun. The final texture looks like that. Now that's a bit damp but not wet. And I will add, get right down to the bottom of the bowl when you mix and turn the bottom up to the top. Because if you don't, all your egg and your liquid just sits on the bottom. And you can see, yes, I can in fact roll that into a patty and it sticks together. That, my friends, is perfect fritter consistency. So I'll break that up because we haven't added the spices yet. Now you need to add a fair bit of spice, probably more than you'd think, because otherwise it's going to be too plain and boring. So I'll go at least a tablespoon of paprika, cumin and coriander each, and then probably half a teaspoon of chili powder and a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to use garlic salt because I like it. See, yes, go heavy on the spice. Alright, we'll give this a good old mix, fry them up. You can see there's quite a bit of oil in there. That's probably a tablespoon of olive oil. Let that get good and hot. And then we'll shape up our little patties, our rainbow patties, or corn and zucchini fritters, and we'll throw them in there. Now what you're looking to do is get the outside nice and crispy, and the inside should be cooked but stay fairly soft. Now I haven't put my spices away. The first one never really works properly because I think it's got more to do with temperature. It's not quite at the right temperature at that stage. So I test it, and that way I know, do I need to add more spice or is everything cool? So half of the mix, remember I've got 2 bowls, half of the mix would be about what you'd do for a family. You'd be surprised, one fritter is actually quite filling. I'll do, once I get in full production, I'll be doing 3 at a time in that cast iron pan. And I am doing industrial scale because, remember, I'm really using this as a way of preserving the zucchini. Drop a little bit of mix in, wait till it gets a good old sizzle up like that, and then I know I'm good to go. There we go, I'll press them down. Turn that heat down a little bit. I sneak a peek up underneath to see if they're nice and crispy and brown, and then I flip them. It usually takes, I think, about 7 minutes on the first side, and then only about 3 on the second, but I do it by sight. There's our first flip. You can see that back one's a little overdone, Andy. Could have got distracted checking on baby quails. First one's out, folks. Second side cooks a lot quicker than the first, don't forget that. If you like these kind of videos where you know, we do a bit of farmsteading and we cook with the crops we produce in our own backyards, even if you live in the city like me, feel free to hit the subscribe button, maybe even hit the bell, folks. You never know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. You have a good one, and hooroo!